through our pelvic tilts. All right, so starting off, we're going to start in an anterior pelvic tilt. So this is focusing on pushing the hips up, all right, into this position. All right, second of all, we're going to go into our neutral pelvis. All right, this is where we're tucking the hips under, all right, keeping the core stable and the glutes start to switch on here. All right, then we're going into our posterior pelvic tilt. All right, so it's tucking under all the way. So we'll start to feel a little bit of pull through the lower back there.
What's going on, guys? So with this here, guys, we want to make sure our client obviously knows how to move their pelvis. We're getting very good at it. So we're just practicing anterior, posterior, neutral. And we want them to know the language as well. So if we're coaching on the floor, we would want to tell them this as well. If we're coaching on the floor and we see someone, say like John's rounding his back, we'll be able to say, hey John, we want to get you back to neutral with your pelvis. And he knows that cue, he knows how to quickly change that. Once we're on the floor, we're going to do it up on our feet. We basically practice on our feet, so posterior, neutral, anterior. And we can even make it harder for a client as well. If they're really good, make it harder, see if they can actually fix it up from a hinge position. So from a posterior into neutral from here, just to test that they're actually nailing that down on point. Sweet, pelvic tilts, easy.
All right guys, well, next we're going to go through retraction and protraction. All right, so starting off on your hands and knees again. All right, from here, what you're going to try and do is squeeze the shoulder blades down and together. All right, so this is called retraction. All right, now in this position, we want to try and make sure that we're not loading up through our neck, we're pulling through the mid-back. Another way to do this would be to retract down through the shoulders and then rotate the hands out, so you're activating through that mid-back there. All right, going into protraction, so this is the opposite, so pushing the scapula up and apart, and going back down into retraction and rotating the hands out.
So when we're doing this as well, guys, we want the client to understand you've got your lumbar spine, you've got your T-spine, you've got your cervical spine. We want to just isolate through more so the T-spine up through here, so they don't want to be moving through the lumbar. We're trying to isolate and segment each part as well. Really cool as well. Feel free to actually, when you work with the client, to 2 fingers, so go retraction read, so you're actually aware of them retracting. Okay, usually you can see it, but sometimes you can't. So when they're doing their rows, feel free to actually use that as well, just to make sure they are retracting back. Do 3, 4, 5 reps of this, make sure they've got it on point in that. Once they get it on point, good to go on to the next thing next. All right, sweet, awesome. Next thing next.
Guys, now we're going to put both of those 2 things together. Okay, so we're going to do a plank. So in a plank, we want to keep a neutral pelvis and we want to try and retract the shoulders at the same time. All right, it's really going to challenge our core as well. All right, so starting off, hands down on the ground, elbows underneath the shoulders, and then feet back and stable. From here, start with the hips up slightly higher, guys. Tuck the hips under into that neutral pelvis. When we've got that control, slowly get them to pull down into retraction as well. All right, this is where we'll find most people start to lose that tuck, is when they try to retract and pull that neutral pelvis together.
Why is plank so important in Foundations 1? A lot of the time, people haven't seen or heard or even heard about engaging your core, so we're going to really break it down for them and simplify it so they know Foundations 1, how to actually brace. Something that they'll always say as well, belly button in towards the back of the spine. It sounds a bit funny, but anus up as well, so you're creating a weight belt around your waist here, being firm on both sides. We should never have you push your stomach out, okay, so always tucking back in. Had a client of mine a few years back now as well, he thought bracing was pushing out, not very safe at all. So it's always bracing both sides, practicing glute engagement as well, drawing up, and you'll feel that difference as well. So we're going to experiment with that here with the client, so they're really feeling the burn through their belly as they're planking. Okay, so the main thing is just a test to see if they can bring in there obviously neutral pelvic position and neutral so retraction through their T-spine as well, so that they're able to keep that while they plank. Okay, don't worry about spending too much time on it, maybe 2 sets of 30 seconds or so, just to make sure they tick it off, that they can do that properly and they know what core engagement is. Easy way to kind of explain core engagement: if someone's about to punch you in the stomach, what do? We pull that belly button in, we brace, we're firm, we do not push out, we do not obviously relax, we've got to tighten. Okay, when we practice with you, so you know.
To start off with, making sure that someone's engaging breathing through into their stomach, into their diaphragm, and not just their chest. So starting off, we'll get them to put one hand on their chest and one hand on their stomach. All right, from here, they're going to take a deep breath in through the nose, focusing on filling their stomach and not their chest. So their hand should be lifting, their hand on their stomach should be lifting, not on their chest. All right. From here, we'll get them to do about 10 reps, getting them used to pushing the air down into the stomach. All right, from here, When they manage to get that point, I'll get them to hold that tension through the core, all right, as if they're getting punched in the gut, I guess, all right. When they manage to do that, we'll start doing it standing. We want to get people to engage their core while they're standing, because most exercises in the gym are going to be standing or seated, all right, not laying down on the ground. So from here, you'll get them to find their belly button for you, all right, and you'll put two fingers above the belly button, and then directly on the back of the spine there, you'll put 2 fingers on the back, on the side of the erectors. All right, from here you'll get them to do the breathing as well. So big breath in through the nose, pushing the air down to the stomach. All right, from here we want them to engage every part of their diaphragm, so there's no loose holes in there. All right, so pushing down, getting them to push to the back, push to the front, push to the sides. From here you're going to have to test them as well, make sure that you can't feel any holes through the diaphragm. In this position, as you can hear, I'm struggling to talk as well. They should not be able to talk in this position. It should be very hard for them, especially if they're starting out in the gym. All right, last cue, which they won't get until they're really fluent through this part of the bracing, is just trying to get them to pull up through their pelvic floor. So a good cue for that would be to hold your fart in or hold your pee in. All right, so
that's good.
Yeah, that's it.
That works. Awesome.
Perfect. All right, guys, so off to our bench press now. Want to start with our eyes underneath the bar, all right, and our feet grounded in a squat position. And when we're lifting, we want to be able to drive down through the heels and have a nice grounded position here. All right, from here, we're going to look those rings on the bar, and we're going to go 1 thumb from there and wrapping our hand around. This is just a good starting marker. This will change from different clients. All right, from here, we want to roll the shoulders back into that retraction position, all right, holding them there for the whole lift. All right, so bringing the barbell over our chest, all right, keeping it over our chest the whole time. We don't want it to be floating over to our shoulders, all right. From here, you're pulling the elbows out at a 45-degree angle, all right, controlling it down, pulling the chest up to the bar, trying to keep those shoulders retracted the whole time. From here, driving down through the heels, and loading up the press.
Awesome.
So rack pulls now, guys. So starting off, we're walking up to the bar, all right? Depending on how tall the person is, it'll depend on how far their knees will be to, their shins will be to the bar. All right, general rule, we'll go 1 or 2 inches. All right, from here, we're reaching down to start off with to find those rings again. So grabbing onto roughly there. Right, from here, we want to roll the shoulders back and then set our hips into that anterior pelvic tilt, okay? From here, we're keeping everything stable through the shoulders, all right? Everything's tight. We're pushing the floor away or leg pressing away up to the knees. And then from here, keeping everything tight, we're driving forward with the hips. At the top, we're going to be tucking the hips under into that neutral pelvis, keeping everything tight through the upper back still. Releasing it down, all right, keeping everything tight still, pushing our hips back into that anterior pelvic tilt, keeping the bar on the legs, all right, down into this position, and lowering it down to the bar, to the right.
For foundations, guys, you guys are going to practice, obviously, bench press first, and obviously nail that down point. Then you guys come over here and practice, obviously, your deadlifts, and then you guys are going to bounce with the client between the two, just challenging their memory, going from one to the other. Okay, practice that maybe 3 to 4 sets or so, see how you go for time. But yeah, just really getting them their repetition up so they can get that practice for day 1. So you guys, see you real soon.
Cool down.